Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel for another Hot Toys Spider-Man No Way Home 1/6 scale figure unboxing and review. Now today we are taking a look at none other than Spidey himself. More specifically though, the movie promo battling version, aka Battle Damage Spidey. Now I got mine from toyswonderland.com. Link for that is in the description below. They do have installment plans and a reward system. While you're down there, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon and join button so you're notified as soon as a brand new review goes live on the channel. As for the box art, this box is huge. It's way thicker than a normal Hot Toys box, and I'm pretty curious to find out why. Up front, an image of upgraded suit Spidey, but he's very clean. Considering this is a battle damage version of Spidey, it's not all that representative of what's inside the box. Now he is swinging through a Doctor Strange magical portal. We've got Doc Ock's tentacles weaving their way through, a couple of pumpkin bombs, and a little bit of lightning as well. Most of the villains, they're represented. Down below, Spider-Man No Way Home plus Movie Promo Edition. Now, on the side of the box, a couple of silhouetted images from the movie. On the back, some more lightning to signify Electro, and this glossy web tech pattern up top. Down below, all of the warnings and legal info. Now if we slide off the top cover, we are treated to a sneak preview of what's inside, but as you all know, we're not here for sneak previews, we're here to unbox Spidey. Now, for the longest time, I've had the Far From Home version in my display as my No Way Home start of the movie Spidey, but this guy, of course, is going to replace that one. I can already tell that there have been some significant changes, not just when it comes to the battle damage. First in-hand impressions, they're pretty positive. And the culprit for why the box is so big is of course down below. What we are going to do now is get all of his accessories laid out in the light box and take a closer look at everything he comes with. Starting off with the display base first, this thing is enormous. Now, I was expecting a very well painted, nicely sculpted and quite functional diorama display base because they've done it before. That would have made this base one of the reasons why I wanted to pick up this figure, but unfortunately, it's none of those things. It's not very good, at least in my opinion. It's on this weird angle, making it not so functional. Up top, it slopes down, so Spidey could potentially slide off. The sculpt is also very soft. The detail isn't super HD, there's not a ton of texture to speak of, and the paint applications are almost cartoony. The speckles are really big and very obvious. It looks overall quite plasticky. Now in terms of the flight pole, you can see a connector on the back. It does come with one, but it's also enormous. You have to screw these two together. It kind of feels almost jerry-rigged. There's this piece down below that can articulate, a brake, and then it can articulate up the top. Then we have a spring-loaded waist clamp, but as we all know, these tend to dig into the suits and damage the figure over time. I would have absolutely loved to have seen magnets incorporated into the base or the crotch grabber / flight pole combo, but they didn't do that. They kept it simple, and for me, this base is a bit of an L. However, we do all like different things at the end of the day, so if you like the display base, that's awesome. I'm really happy for you. Now, we do get half a brand new head sculpt, and it's about darn time, Hot Toys. Thank you. It looks just like Tom Holland. The skin texture is nicely painted. There's some dirt and grime on his face and also on the mask. Now we have seen the bottom half before with the incredible Tom Holland head sculpt from the Far From Home suit. Still one of their best ever, at least in my opinion. But the top part is all new. There is this subtle dot pattern on the surface, and I cannot wait to try this on the figure later on. I'm fairly certain this figure was announced before Doctor Strange, so at the time, this was the first one to get the magical spell box. But of course, Doctor Strange came out before this guy, so yeah, he takes the win. Now, this box is very nicely sculpted, the detail is crisp, and it's painted well. There are multiple layers of metallic, there's gradients and airbrush shading, plus some oil stain washes in the crevices. If you're wondering how it compares to the Doctor Strange one, well, it's almost identical. The green looks slightly different on the Doctor Strange one on the right, but other than that, like I said, they're very close. I remember when this guy was announced, people were freaking out. They were saying, oh no, the movie promo, the exclusive, it's the only way to get the box, we need that. But then of course, Doctor Strange came along and it was no longer an issue. Now we do get the usual suspects for webs, the spooled up one, which is my favourite, cast in translucent plastic with some silver on the surface. It looks like a web. Then we get this palette with a bunch more options. Some long straight ones that we can plug the funnel into so it looks like he's webbing up some villains. Some shorter ones with thicker ends, and then of course the right angle for some web swinging. I remember back in the day, Hot Toys cell phones, they were real nasty. They didn't have any screen prints, they were just unpainted pieces of black plastic, but not anymore. This one has a screen. Well, it's not a real screen, it's a sticker. You can see there's a crack printed on the surface down below, accurate to the movie. Then a little convo with MJ saying, on my way 2 mins, and her reply, don't text and swing. For Spidey's eyes, we do have multiple options, starting off with a little bit more wide open, then slightly more squinted, even more squinted than that, and full-on Peter Tingle. The ones down below, don't think I'm ever going to use, but the rest of them, I like the options. And lastly, a full array of hands. Now, the web shooting hands are actually quite clever. In order to attach the webs to the web shooter, there's this spooled up piece on the palm. What you do is remove this piece entirely and swap this spooled up piece on, and then you can plug the web in. So it can look either smooth and seamless like this, because the natural breaks are used to hide the seams, or have the spooled up piece, it's up to you. The texture on the red does match the fabric of the suit, and there are some printed lines on the black sections, again, to match the suit. What we are going to do now, though, is get Spidey himself out here. Standing straight up and down in the light box, no crazy poses or accessories or anything like that. And so far so good. Now if you're a seasoned, experienced Hot Toys Spidey collector at this point, this may not impress you. You may be sitting there thinking, oh really, is it that good? It's a reused body and it's a suit that's almost identical to Far From Home, it's just a little bit dirty. And okay, I totally understand all that. Yes, we have seen most of this stuff before, but that doesn't make this guy bad. In fact, it makes him even better. All of this stuff is proven. Hot Toys have had a chance to test out the materials and the body, and it works really well together. The proportions are so darn real. Plus, we've never had a battle damage Spidey before. This is a first. And while the battle damage might be considered dirt and grime versus actual battle damage, it's still something that's 100% going to stand out in the collection. Up close and personal, kicking things off with the masked head sculpt first. Now, don't worry, I'm just as curious as you are to see the half-masked head sculpt on the figure, so in just a second, we'll pop it on. Now, I like the shape here. I also like the texture of the fabric. It's nice and tight over the plastic sculpt. You can also, of course, swap out the eyes. It's really easy to do. You simply push the corner and the bottom pops out, which means you have to grab it, then pop the new eyes in. Now, there is some dirt and grime on the surface, but on the head sculpt, it's very subtle. Up top, there is a little bit of a zigzag for the stitching, but it's not super unsightly, not like the previous version. If you're thinking, wait a second Justin, don't leave us hanging, show us the comparison to the old one. Yes, I will, but I gotta keep you watching somehow. It's gonna happen a little bit later. Now I've switched the eyes out for the slightly more squinted ones. Maybe he's mid-battle, maybe you just prefer this kind of Ditko-esque old school look. Either way, you've got a bunch of options, like you saw earlier. Oh, this looks so freaking good. To me at least, it's worth the price of admission alone. Now, I've been waiting forever for a half-masked Tom Holland Peter Parker head sculpt by Hot Toys, and this doesn't disappoint. It sits at pretty much the perfect height on the body. It's not too big, it's not too small either. What I'm trying to say is everything's in proportion. Now, in comparison to the third-party one, I reckon Hot Toys is the clear winner. I see the likeness more so on the right, plus the skin tone and skin texture looks just a little bit more natural. I do, however, prefer the mask on the third-party version. There's more wrinkles and texture to it. It looks like proper fabric, whereas Hot Toys is a little bit smoother. If only there was a way to combine these two head sculpts and have a perfect one, but unfortunately, of course, there isn't. The underlying body, of course, is borrowed from the Far From Home upgraded suit, but that's perfectly fine with me. It worked for him, and it works a treat here as well. You can make out and feel some musculature underneath the suit. There are some abs, you can see the pecs, and you can even see the collarbone. That's some next level detail. The suit on top does look similar to Far From Home, but don't let first impressions deceive you. It's not the exact same. What do I mean by that? Well, his belt is gone. That means this new one is accurate, of course, to No Way Home, but kinda looks a little bit more comic booky at the same time. Now, we do have some splotches of black dirt and grime on the surface. Then the rest of the battle damage is subtle, but it's printed. There's this kind of brown grime on the surface. It's sparse, but when you look at him from a distance, it blends all that battle damage together. It's subtle, but it's there. I'm probably reaching here, but maybe they kept it subtle for a good reason. The red sections are spandex-like fabric with some screen-printed dots on the surface, but that means when you spray it or print on it, it's going to soak in, and that's not going anywhere. The same thing can be said for these more rigid panel line sections and the logos. They're slightly more solid, so I don't think the dirt and grime is gonna peel. Whereas on the main black sections, it's more flexible, it stretches, it's a rubbery fabric, so maybe they were worried if they printed more on it, it would rub off or peel off over time. I do, however, still love the textures of the fabric. There are multiple different layers and panel lines, and there's a lot to look at, even though on the shelf it might look simple. Up close, there's a lot going on. Oh, and by the way, if you have the black and gold suit Spidey, yes, you can pop the magical web shooter on, which is exactly how I'm going to display this guy in my collection. Now, it is super simple to do, but for those who are wondering, you pop the hand off, slide the web shooter on, then plug the hand back in, which locks this in position. On the other side, you can make out the little triangle for where the webs would come out. It's not really a web shooter per se, but it's more integrated into the suit itself. Integrated suit, did you say? Oh, I wish we had him. I'm so excited for that one, but this one's no slouch. Now, his legs are quite clean, except for one teeny dot of brown dirt on one knee. There's more dirt and grime above the boots, and the boots are filthy. This is all that red stretchy fabric, and thank goodness Hot Toys, they fixed the ankles. This looks so good. It's nice and smooth, the buckling is kept to a minimum. On the underside, some fully sculpted and painted tread. For a quick side-by-side comparison, on the left we have the battling movie promo Spidey from No Way Home, and on the right, upgraded suit Spidey from Far From Home. Now, even though, yes, there are similarities, the color scheme and the various patterns on the suit, there are differences as well. The belt area on the new one is different. He's battle damaged. He comes with a new head sculpt. So if you're sitting there thinking, ooh, do I not? Well, the choice, as always, is yours, my friend. But for me, a battle damaged Spidey is something pretty unique. So I went all in. I roll triggered, I know, I always go all in, it's just what I do. Now here we have Tech Suit Spidey in a much more classic blue and red color scheme. Still absolutely love the tech suit. If you're thinking, oh, same base body, just different head sculpt and suit. Actually, No, the body is ever so slightly different, the proportions are better on the battle damage version, plus he's got the ab definition and that collarbone piece. Now that's all minor stuff, the big difference is of course the color scheme. Next up, the wildly inaccurate but still pretty cool looking black and gold suit, also from No Way Home. Will Hot Toys eventually get around to doing a 2.0 that is accurate to the movie? Well, I sure as heck hope they do, but for now, yeah, this works. These two displayed together in the collection on the No Way Home shelf. I'm getting pretty excited to complete the line. And almost like magic, it's Doctor Strange. Funny that, I was just talking about completing the line. I am so sorry. Doctor Strange, of course, is the taller of the two. Now, some people are skipping this Doctor Strange because we're getting a Multiverse of Madness one with a cooler outfit with a brand new head sculpt. Totally understand. But if you are putting together a Spidey display, Strange was a pretty important part in the movie. He might be worth picking up. Going over articulation, do bear in mind this is my personal copy, so I'm going to be a touch more careful. Starting off with the head sculpt, it's on a fixed neck with a double ball peg up top. Looking up to there, looking down to there, swivel and pivot side to side. The arms will go up on very clicky ratchets, going forward and back, butterfly joint at the shoulder that also hinges up and down, swivel at the bicep, double bend at the elbow going past 90, plus a hinge and swivel on soft ratchets for the wrist peg. The torso crunches forward to there, going back to there, swivel and pivot. The legs will go forward on soft ratchets to there, going out on clickier ratchets, swivel at the upper thigh, double bend at the knee going past 90, a double ball peg for the ankle, plus toe articulation. Moving on to the 3 cool and 3 annoying things. The first annoying thing, and this is subjective, you don't have to agree with me. In fact, some people are probably screaming at their monitors saying, Justin, leave the poor thing alone. But it's the diorama display base, it just doesn't work for me. The sculpt is really soft, especially on all the broken bits. The paint applications try to save it, but overall it comes across looking like this semi-glossy hunk of vinyl, and that's because it is. The second annoying thing, and don't get me wrong, I love this head sculpt overall, but there's a finish mismatch between the mask and the outfit. Now, Hot Toys are no stranger to sculpting raised texture on pieces like swap out hands, but for some reason, not the mask. It's smooth and a little bit glossy. If only they'd matched this texture on the mask itself, it would have looked a little bit more cohesive. The third annoying thing is he's missing the magical web shooter. We got the box, but not the web shooter, and I don't know why. There were certain scenes when he was wearing the red and black suit and this web shooter, but unless you get the black and gold suit, you're not gonna have this. The first cool thing is they fixed the ankles. I've complained at length about the bunching on the original on the right, very unsightly, versus the new one, there's no bunching, it looks nice and smooth. So many quality of life improvements, but hey, I'm not complaining. The second cool thing is the bump on his noggin where the mask is stitched together is now gone. On the new one, it's kind of indented, just like any other web line. The third cool thing is the new half-masked head sculpt is compatible with your tech suit Spidey. Now, yes, there is some soot and dirt and grime on the surface, but from a distance, this totally works. So if you want Spidey sitting on a lamppost eating a churro, you can get that done. Wrapping up on Battling Suit Spidey, the movie promo version from No Way Home. Now, going into this, I thought, oh, okay, I know what to expect. It's a Far From Home style suit, just a little bit dirty. And for the most part, yeah, I was bang on. That's exactly what it is. The articulation is identical. The body is the same. The outfit material, it's the same as well. But we get a new head sculpt, a new accessory in the form of the magical spell containment box, and a big honkin' diorama display base. Now, while all of it doesn't hit super hard, looking at the display base, it's not ideal. Would have loved a little bit more texture and detail to it. Overall, I'm still really happy. All of the stuff they borrowed from Far From Home, it's a sure thing. The body we already knew was going to be exceptional. The articulation, the proportions, it checks a ton of boxes, at least for me. Then the icing on the cake, the half-masked head sculpt. It's compatible with your other Spideys, including probably the upcoming integrated suit. So don't worry when he releases, oh yes, we will test it out. So, in saying all of that, where does that leave this guy? Well, kind of in a bit of a weird situation. Would this be your first Spidey, or my first Spidey if I was just starting to collect Spidey figures? No, I don't think so. He'd probably come down the line as my second or third Spidey. So if you find yourself in that position, then maybe this is the one for you. Now, I got mine from toyswonderland.com. Link for that is in the description below. They do have installment plans and a reward system. While you're down there, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button if you like the sound of seeing your name in the end credits of my reviews. Like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next video.